Okay, so James Orloski is the new, I'm going to read this if you don't mind.
Sure.
He comes to us from Phoenix Parks and Recreation Department, Phoenix, Arizona, where he was most recently Deputy Director over the South Division in their downtown district. The Phoenix Parks and Recreation Department has an annual budget of $118 million with 1,500 employees and is well respected in the municipal recreation world. Managing 2 geographic areas in Phoenix and other positions in the department gave James experience in parks and green spaces, yay, recreation centers, historic and cultural facilities, park planning, capital construction and developing operating and capital budgets. He's active in the National Recreation and Parks Association and is excited to get to know Arlington and its award-winning Parks and Recreation Department. James began employment here at the city on May the 2nd. I know you'll welcome him to the city of Arlington. So,
Thank you for that kind welcome and introduction, and good morning everyone. I'm James Orloski. I'm your new Parks and Recreation Director. Been on the job, I think officially I hit the 4-month mark, so in some ways it feels like 4 years, in other ways it feels like 4 minutes, but I'm excited to be here with y'all this morning and really just want to introduce myself, get to know y'all a little bit better, hear about what some of your questions or concerns or comments may be and try to respond to those. And really just build our partnership, and I know we have a really great partnership. For me, coming in new into my role, that's one of the most important things. That's one of my top priorities, is to have really strong foundations and build really strong partnerships with all of our friends groups, our volunteer groups, our neighborhood associations. And so thank you for having me out this morning. I think we're on a great trajectory and just look forward to staying in contact with y'all after today. So. I did just make myself a couple of notes of some Parks Department related updates that I wanted to share with you. We're really excited. We're starting the process right now of talking about the bond package for 2023. The Citizens Bond Committee has been formed. They're starting to have meetings. And actually last week I was in front of them talking about some of our proposed Parks Department projects that we'd like them to consider funding. So we think there's probably going to be about $200 million worth of bond capacity over the next 4 or 5 years, and so we want to try to, of course, get some of our park projects in there. And we've submitted $47 million worth of projects that we would like to do, ideally. The need overall when we did our master plan in 2020 was about $350 million, so it's kind of a gradual process. We're trying to gradually check some of those priorities off and get some things done. So just to quickly run through some of the stuff that we've put forward for consideration, we have 2 undeveloped parks around the city that we'd like to turn from vacant properties into developed park properties. We also want to build a new dog park in North Arlington. We know that that's a big need and really an unfilled need that we have. We also want to completely rebuild Woodland West Pool. It's our oldest pool and aquatic facility in the entire city, and so we think that we can really do something a lot better there, a lot cooler, more like a water park, sort of a mini BK or a Randall Mill. So that's what our plan is for that. We also want to make some improvements to LZ Odom Center. It's going on almost 25 years old, I think, at this point. It was built in '99, and so great facility, but starting to show its age, and we know we need to make some interior and exterior improvements there. So a couple of other things. We also want to improve the Harold Patterson Sports Center, do some field improvements, and then make some aquatic improvements around the city, replace some of our playgrounds so that we can stay on schedule of replacing those about every 15 years, and then also develop some new trail connections so that we have really good bike and ped connectivity. The other thing that's going on right now is development of the FY 2023 city budget. And so we're very fortunate. Trey and the mayor and city council have been very good to us and have put a lot of things into the 23 budget for us that we had requested. So again, playground replacements, we're getting about $950,000 for that. We're also going to be able to do some of the less glamorous stuff, but really important things like pond dredging is a big need that we have with all of our bodies of water around the city. I was talking with some of you about erosion issues. We're getting some money to work on erosion-related projects. Again, not the glamorous stuff like playgrounds and rec centers and all that fun stuff, but it's stuff that we need to do, and so we're grateful to hopefully get some money for that. And then parking lots as well, because a lot of our parking lots are starting to show their age. So council's getting close to approving that FY23 budget, and there's a lot of good stuff in there for the Parks Department. And again, very grateful to the mayor and council for their leadership and support of the Parks Department. Another thing that we're getting started on, there's a lot of projects going on. I'll kind of run through the list. But we're going to do a feasibility study for a new accessible playground in the city. So I think we have a good accessible play area here at Randall Mill, but I also think we can do a lot better. And so we're going to take a look at that current playground and do an accessibility study to see, kind of what that next phase or that next evolution of accessibility could be. And then, if you didn't know, we're coming up on in 2024 the centennial of Meadowbrook Park, kind of in the east part of the city. And so that's a really exciting thing for us that we're going to be working towards celebrating in the next year as that centennial. It's not just 100 years of Meadowbrook Park, but if you think about it, that's also the centennial of the Parks Department. So that's a big deal for us, and we're going to be doing a master plan for Meadowbrook Park to kind of turn the page and start thinking about what the next 100 years of Meadowbrook Park looks like, but also just celebrating 100 years of parks in the city of Arlington. So that's a cool thing that we're excited about. Just to run through some of the projects, there's a lot going on, and I'm happy to talk about any of these more in depth if you're interested. So the Active Adult Center, of course, the much talked about, long talked about senior center that we're going to be building. So the good news is we've been making steady progress on that after the kind of political discussions about location and all that worked itself out. From there, we've just been full steam ahead, and so we're in the construction document process right now, really close to the final design, and then we'll be going to council within about the next month, and then they'll at that point approve our guaranteed maximum price. So at that point we'll know from our contractor, from our CMAR is what it's called, what the total cost of that project is going to be. The voters approved $45 million back in 2017 with cost escalation and inflation and all that. It'll be higher than $45 million, but we'll get that number in the next month or so. And then once that's approved, at the same time permitting will be done and all that. And so hopefully we'll be breaking ground either at the end of this year or early next year. And then it's almost 2 years of construction, so that'll put us basically on schedule for a grand opening celebration, probably late 24 or early 25. So not further off than any of us would probably like, but I just want to at least let you know that we're making really good progress that way. Also, our Eunice Activity Center, our other kind of senior facility, unfortunately, as I think we all know, has been closed for a couple of years at this point. Closed at the start of the pandemic for COVID-related reasons, was scheduled to reopen in 2021, and then we had the really bad winter storm that basically devastated the building. And so we're in the construction process for that as well. Actually going to be going to council next week, and they'll give us approval and funding to move forward with that construction process. And so we're hopeful that we can reopen Eunice to our senior population in early next year, with construction basically the rest of this year. We're building, later this year, we're going to start building 2 new memorials at Veterans Park. We have 2 great ones there already, but we'll be building 2 more. One commemorating the Korean War and veterans of that war, and then also a memorial to the fallen is what it's called, really, just paying tribute to those who kind of made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. So we're really excited for those. We have 2 really cool projects going on in the downtown Arlington area. We're going to do the Mineral Well Public Plaza project, which really cool historical significance to it. So way back in the day of Arlington, there was the Mineral Well that was kind of the central gathering place as the city was kind of getting started. And so that went away in the 50s. But it's something that people still feel sort of a historical connection to. And so we're going to recreate that in the Public Plaza area between the downtown library and City Hall, kind of in that little plaza area. So that's a really cool project. Water fountain feature, all that kind of good stuff. And then we're also developing a new park that we're calling tentatively Rotary Dream Park, just a little bit north of the railroad tracks on Front Street. And so we're going to have some really cool public art there, a piece that the Rotary Club of Arlington has given us some funding to commission with a studio, an artist called Jen Lewin. So she's doing a really cool piece that's going to be interactive, really cool public art. And then we're also going to be relocating the Dream sculpture that's currently in downtown. We're going to be putting that in the park as well, and then building the park around those 2 pieces of public art. So we're really excited about those. And this isn't the whole list. I just wanted to give you kind of sampling, but we're also doing some improvements to Richard Simpson Park off of Lake Arlington. one of only 2 public access points to the lake, recreation opportunities here in Arlington, and we're doing a second round of improvements. This is a bond project that had been approved back in 2018, and so the bond has been sold, we have the funding available, and we're moving forward with the design of phase 2. So there will be some cool stuff that we'll be adding to that park that we've been talking to the community about there. So with that, I think I'll just leave it there. I really just want to answer your questions if you have questions, concerns, comments. And I have a stack of business cards as well, so if you think of something after today or anything ever comes up, it has my email, cell phone number, all that good stuff. So I'll leave those on the front table up here, and again, happy to answer questions if there's any questions. And again, thank you for having me today. Really grateful for the opportunity to be with you.
Is anything ever going to be developed as far as the historical bird sport, as far as with the city or park or anything?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know anything about that, but I can go back and talk to my staff. And if you want to leave me your contact information, I can follow up and let you know what I find out on that.
Kind of like the founding of the Metroplex, you know. Basically, of course, in the middle of Viridian, but
Okay.
it only changed hands once in 100 and some odd years. So.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but I can go back and see if there's any plans for anything like that, and I can let you know if you give me your contact information or if you want to take one of my business cards, and we can follow up that way. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
You might have mentioned it, but I didn't hear it. Where are they going to be putting this new rec center?
Yeah, so the question was, where is the new active adult center or senior center going to be located? And it's basically right across from Lake Arlington Golf Course, if you're familiar with that part of the city. So western part of the city, just on the other side of Green Oaks, south of Pioneer Parkway. Yeah. There's a water treatment center right there, and they were kind enough to give us some of that property to develop the active adult center.
So across from the fire and the...
Yeah, across from the public safety.
What are they doing with all that massive amount of dirt that they're...
It's really something. If you've been out there lately and you're driving by, you can see they're doing a ton of excavation out there, because you can see this huge pile of dirt, and it's all about the sewer facility that they're building out there. They're doing a lot of improvements, so it's really something to see. If you're standing on the golf course and you look across the street, it's enormous. So it's really something. The good news is, soon when you see dirt moving, it'll be because it's the active adult center getting built. So
I hope you're planning on saving as many trees in there as you
Yeah.
possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really green wooded space, and so it's
Yes.
really important to us. And that was something when we were coming up with the design and where do you put the building and the parking lot. We really wanted to integrate it into that property and not have to remove many trees. And so, yeah, absolutely. If you go onto our parks website at arlingtontx.gov, you can see the latest. We're adding the current renderings of what the inside and the outside will look like, but you can see the master site plan currently, and I think you'll be very happy because you can see that there's a lot of trees on that property. So absolutely.
And so the rendering, the proposed rendering is already posted on your website?
Yeah, so what we have right now is the master site plan that just shows kind of the aerial view of what everything looks like and kind of where the building's situated, the parking, the community garden, the trail system. And this next week we're going to be adding a bunch of renderings, so you can actually see cool pictures, like 3D renderings of what the actual building will look like, and the pool and the everything on the inside basically.
So, do you know anything about, on this same subject, like, will seniors, is there like 55 and older?
50 and older.
50 and older.
Yeah, so that was a lot of discussion when the planning stage was going on of like what's the demographic basically, and what they landed on was 50 and older will be the demographic for the active adult center. So.
And all you have to do is show an ID at a guarded gate or something and walk in and do anything you want. I mean, go and...
Yeah, it'll be very similar to a center. So if you've been to East or Beacon or any of our, Cliff, it'll be a very similar thing. We'll have kind of a tiered structure, I think, for membership, and then, depending on what level of membership you have, it'll get you access to the different amenities. So,
Got it.
Yep,
Yeah.
we're really excited.
Can you say anything about your website? I think a couple of years ago, it used to be very easy to find parks with walking paths and all the pictures.
Yeah.
And it all looks, I don't know what happened, but it's sort of difficult to navigate now.
Yeah.
Going through.
The question was about our website and it being a little bit difficult to navigate and find different parks and trails. And we actually agree. The city-wide, we went through a web design process and got a new kind of platform for the website. The mapping feature, quite honestly, is not great. We would love to have something more like Google Maps that's a lot more user-friendly. We just don't have that capability right now, but it's something that Philip, my senior communications person, is working on, and we're hopeful that we can get something that City IT will sign off on, and that'll be a lot more user-friendly. It is a little clunky today, quite honestly, but it's so easy to use Google. So, yeah, we're working on it is the short answer.
How do you like the heat here compared to Phoenix?
Well, that's a good question. Do I prefer the heat here or in Phoenix? The thing about Phoenix is it really is a dry heat, so it may be like 115 degrees, but very little humidity, unless it's the monsoon season, which is their kind of rainy season. So if I could pick any weather, I'd probably actually pick that, because I can just go inside and crank up the AC, and it's not this kind of sticky. But in all seriousness, I've been looking at the weather lately, and it's actually been a little bit hotter here than it is there. So that's the running joke at the department is I show up and all of a sudden we have hotter weather than ever. So suspicious timing, I guess.
Speaking of the drought, in the early days of Randall Mill Park, there used to be extensive sprinkler system, and of course, we don't have that now. Is there any possibility of getting sprinklers back in the park system?
I don't know if it, so the question was about the irrigation system in the park, and that there used to be a sprinkler irrigation system. I don't know of any plans for that currently. Obviously the rain did a wonder of good for us, because it's really greened everything up where it was getting a little toasty before the rainy weather that we've had. So that would be a huge project, honestly, bringing in an irrigation
Used to be
system.
those huge sprinklers that would cover, about 50 feet in all directions, and they used to have them out here through all the park. And
I suspect it's just the ball fields now that have the sprinkler systems, and so I mean, it's one of those things too. When we're in an age of drought, it's a question of kind of priorities, and so no discussions right now that I know of, but it's a little bit of a fine line that we have to walk of having
save
beautiful
the
green
trees.
parks.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, us too, for sure.
In line with that, are there any particular improvements or beautification projects for Randall Mill Park coming up?
The only thing coming up in the relatively short term would be a replacement of the playground. So hard to believe, but that was built, I think, 2010, 2011 timeframe, and so we're getting within the period of time that we should be looking at replacing that, and so that's part of what we put forward in consideration for the 23 bond. That would be one of the playground replacements that we would do. But like I said, we're also going to do a feasibility study for an accessible playground, and so, should we improve what we have here, replace what we have here? Is there, that's kind of all on the table. That's the only thing I can think of in the relatively short term is that playground. We also, though, of course, I guess I should mention the pool. That's something that we're continually evaluating as aquatic improvements that are needed, and so kind of the guts of the system, I think we'll make some improvements there. But that's all that comes to mind right now for Randall Mill.
It'll still be an accessible playground though.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to look
Because
at.
we have the Miracle League, and so we have kids here that are.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. But yeah, we've had some challenges with the playground. I don't think it's been quite as accessible as we would have hoped or thought that it would be. And so, it's like, do we start from scratch? I think we probably do, but we really need kind of the experts in the playground industry to help us with some of those questions. And so the first step for us is just to do the accessibility and feasibility study, and then to kind of go from there. So, yeah.
What does the process look like for adding trees to existing parks? Because every time I walk around this park, I'm like, there's so much potential for more trees, and in Texas, trees are key for shade, and I think it would bring more people to the park, honestly.
Yeah.
So like that pattern, like how does that?
Just reach out to us and let us know that that's something that you're interested in, that you think there's a need in. The good thing is Wendy and her whole forestry and beautification team are actually headquartered here at Randall Mill Park, and so they're very familiar with the park, and so, but that's who we would work with is Wendy, and we could even look at doing something like a volunteer project and have y'all kind of help us out and make kind of a community day out of it. But yeah, if you want to send me an email, we can take a look at that and see what we might be able to do. So we're big on adding trees as the Parks Department.
And I know the ones we have that are newer have the irrigation, which obviously is also crucial. So I know there's additional. It's not just you plant a tree and leave and walk away. It's
Yeah, totally.
along those lines, I like trees, but there's a lot of dead trees along the creek bed here.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them need to be taken out,
Yeah.
you know, 'cause it's kind of ugly.
Yeah. There are throughout here, but throughout the park system, there's some trees. I mean, with the urban forest, it's continually, trees are aging out, new trees are being planted, and so it's just a gradual process. And, you know, we could try to go through and remove them all at once. That would probably be all we did for a year. And so it's a gradual process.
They just need to be pruned out a little bit
Yeah.
and not take them all out.
Yeah, there's dead ones that do need to come out, and then there's some trees that just have dead wood, and we need to go in and trim those up a little bit and kind of clean them up. So, yeah,
That'd be good.
When you talk about volunteers,
Yeah,
you're looking at them.
yeah,
We don't do first Saturdays. We do National Night Out, and then we don't do first Saturdays through the winter, and then we start early in the spring. And our first Saturdays are park cleanup.
cool.
And we've done that for years. We actually, in honor of Catherine Wildman, who came to our cleanups all the time, we have a Catherine Wildman cigarette butt contest.
Oh, that's funny.
Because she went over to the playground and came back with a whole bag of cigarette butts.
Isn't that sad?
And she was in kind of in awe of it. So,
Yeah.
you know, you get a big candy bar if you get a whole lot of cigarette butts picked up.
Good to know. Yeah, but and on that note of volunteerism, we're super grateful for y'all, because the stuff that you help us out with, the cleanups, the volunteer projects, that just goes above and beyond what we're able to do as staff. And so, you know, from a budget standpoint, I think it costs one thing to maintain the park and have it look like this, but it's actually more, right? Because y'all are doing in-kind volunteer work for us. So, yeah, super grateful for everything that you guys do for us. It makes a big difference.
Is Martin Sanchez going to be in the park department for a while, or do you
Oh
know?
gosh, I don't want to give anyone's news for them, so I'll just say
I
you
keep
should
asking him. I see him at church once in a while.
Yeah.
And his wife says, "Now."
you should ask him that question, because
I
I think
will.
he may have news, but I don't know.
I think it's probably coming soon.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
I know, me too.
Because he really supports our group and our park.
Yeah.
Follow-up question about dog poop.
Yeah.
Do dog poop stations fall under parks?
Yeah.
How do we get from along Oakwood?
Just-
Because
yeah.
It's out of control.
Just email me. It is a
Okay.
huge issue.
Okay.
You know, we have signage that says, "Hey, clean up after your dogs,"
Yeah.
but there's unfortunately just irresponsible dog owners,
Yep.
and so it is a big issue for sure. And we can get some of those stations if you send me an
That'd be
email.
great.
Yeah.
Not that it means they'll actually use them, but hey, maybe.
Yeah, all you can do is
Yeah.
all you can do is make it easier for people, and then
Right.
try to educate them when you see them not doing the right thing.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are there anything that works that other parks in the United States have found that helps train people to pick up, not to throw trash out, their window? And
No.
there's a lot of trash.
The question was, is there anything across the nation that's like a best practice for getting people to stop littering? I wish there was. Whoever solves that issue is probably going to be a very wealthy person. But yeah, it was a huge issue in Arizona too. There's just irresponsible people that throw trash, either don't clean up after they have like an event at a pavilion, or throw something out of their car. It frustrates us obviously, because we're the ones, my staff, we're the ones that are out here cleaning it up. And all we can do is really educate people when we see them and hope that they make the right decision. But it's very, very frustrating for us as a Parks
Do
Department.
you have a staff person that's responsible for that area?
For which area?
For educating the public about trash?
It's all of us as Parks Department employees. The kind of expectation is, if we see something, that we're making contact with that person and informing them. It's not an enforcement issue that PD would get involved. It's really just a, hey, sir or ma'am, can you please clean up your area kind of a
Kids
thing.
in
So,
schools or school projects or something like that?
yeah. One thing I will mention in that vein is we are trying to relaunch Keep Arlington Beautiful, which is kind of gone over by the wayside over the years. And so I think that could serve two purposes, multiple, but two that are relevant to this. One is supporting our volunteer and park friends groups, and then just the education piece of the importance of keeping Arlington beautiful. It's one of the things I hear the most about as the parks director is people want more beautification, they want more mowing, they want more litter pickup, and so Keep Arlington Beautiful can serve that role too of educating the public. So we're excited to get that going and kind of relaunch it in the next little bit.
What is the schedule, like in the case of the pavilion here, it's heavily used, and it gets to be Saturday sometimes, and there's large groups here,
Yeah.
and the trash and everything is overflowing. So you get Sunday and it's more overflowing. Is there any schedule
Yeah, so we have.
after Saturday to pick up Saturday night or something?
Yeah, the question's about pickup on the weekends after like a busy pavilion rental, and basically my staff comes in the mornings, and so that's when they're doing their route around the parks. I have honestly a skeleton crew on the weekends, and so they would clean it up Saturday morning, they would come back clean up Sunday morning. But as of right now, I don't have staff that work like Saturday night to clean it up. It's my maintenance staff that come in the mornings and patrol the parks. So.
Are you adding staff? How many staff are you adding like in the new budget?
The question was how many new staff are we adding through the budget? I honestly think maybe one. We're really not adding that many staff. We're really not in that mode as a parks department of hiring a lot of new people. My big challenge on the hiring side has been with aquatics and lifeguards particularly. I need to hire many, many more lifeguards to be able to operate our pools. But just from a growing our headcount standpoint, we're really not growing our headcount. If you look at Arlington compared to other cities and other park agencies in the area, we're pretty lean. And that's just that's management's preference and mayor and council's preference is that we're a pretty lean operation. We do contract out most, if not all, of our mowing operations, so that's a little deceptive when you look at our staffing numbers. But yeah, we're not really growing our headcount at this point.
They had signs on the pickups, on some of the pickups we were hiring.
Yeah. Well, just to be clear, we're always hiring, like particularly they call them landscape technicians, but it's kind of the entry-level maintenance folks that work in the outdoor parks. There's always a need to hire them. So we're not getting new positions added to our budget net, but we're constantly trying to fill the existing positions that we have. So yeah, I'll just put a plug in. The city's a really good employer. There's not many places anymore that you can get a guaranteed retirement benefit. So, we're hoping that more young people will consider city employment as they're, looking at their options.
So with little ones that like to volunteer but are just being very shy this morning.
Yeah.
Do you have any youth programs that are coming up? Even here at the park, or within, I know Pope, Butler, all around the area. Anything to encourage volunteering programs?
Yeah. So we have a dedicated position. His name is Montana Williams. Montana is our volunteer coordinator, in addition to other hats that he wears. And so he's really the guy. So what we hope is if someone's interested in volunteering, that they reach out to us and contact Montana, and he'll kind of do some intake to figure out what their interests are and what part of the city they want to work in, and then kind of match them up with a volunteer opportunity. So today, that's kind of how it works. I'm hopeful. I mentioned Keep Arlington Beautiful. Once we get that kind of relaunched, I'm hoping that'll be the portal. It's like you just go to Keep Arlington Beautiful, the website, you submit your information, and then someone contacts you to make it a little more seamless. So, yeah, that's kind of how it works right now. Yeah. Any other questions that I can answer? If not, like I said, I have some business cards up here. Feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Sorry.
I see a question back here.
This is the last one.
Yeah.
The wildlife in our park.
Uh-huh.
We have all kinds of stuff going on in the park. What is your role as the park and rec? Do y'all try to protect it and
Yeah, we'll work with
avoid poaching and things like that? Or?
Yeah, if we get a complaint, we'll usually work with either the city's code compliance department or depending on what the wildlife is, right? If it's a coyote or if it's a bird, or it just depends. If it's a protected species, then we work with the state. So it really just depends on what the nature of it is. But like we get a lot of questions and comments and concerns around River Legacy because there's a lot of wildlife activity. And it just depends on what the nature of the issue is. If it's a complaint about someone mistreating an animal, that's one thing. If it's, hey, I got chased by a coyote on the trail, that's something a little bit different. So it just depends on the nature of the issue.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me out today. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I could bring the good weather.
Yeah, thank you for your help.
But in all seriousness, let us know if there's anything that we can do for you.
Sure do appreciate your time today.
My pleasure.
You're welcome to take some donuts with you.
I would love to, but I also shouldn't. So.
Well, you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, seriously.
And